Allahumma amen. Yeah, no, and I have to definitely agree with you when you opened up as it relates to some of the things that took place back then. As a person being in California at the time, I remember being in the masjid. One thing I took uh, that I personally had a problem with concerning Shadid Muhammad and how he was dealt with was people who kept bringing to LA that Shadid had all these problems. But then what hits the internet was Shadid going to the movies in Trinidad and Tobago. That was the most irresponsible uh, reaction to the type of mistake Shadid made that could ever be done by people that claim to be upon the Sunnah and Salafiyah. I remember I was in the Masjid in LA, and Farid Abdullah was sitting next to me, and I believe Samir was there too, and a couple of other brothers. And we were discussing that, and the way that Farid reacted, he said, "You see this?" Now I'm not wording him verbatim, but the meaning of his statement was, "You see this? Now they're going to have the Hizbi say, why do you want to be Salafi?" They expose one another over stuff like going to the movies.
I remember being in California when the phone call came through about that issue, and the truth is the truth. I remember, if my memory serves me correctly, Hassan Somali was on the phone with someone, telling them, "Leave that matter alone. I'll talk to him."
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Leave that matter alone. No, don't. No, leave it alone. I'll speak to him. Leave it alone. I'll speak to him. So whoever he was talking to, I don't think they took the advice and they went ahead and took the matter to the Mashiach. And then what happened is what happened. But I was kind of shocked when that came out, because I'm like, I thought the brother spoke to them and told him leave it alone. He was going to speak to the brother privately.
Now, when you're talking about 2010, right, for the conference, and that took place in LA.
That's when all that came out, if I'm not mistaken. Came out right
Yeah,
after that.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Hassan Somali was on the phone with who I think is probably the brother from Trinidad or Tobago, and he was telling him leave it alone. I'll speak to him.
Now you're saying the reason why I asked my question because you're saying you were in LA, so I'm assuming it must have been 2010 when Somali, Anwar, yourself,
Yes, we always did. Yes, yes.
somebody, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was Hassan Somali was telling somebody on the phone, leave it alone. Don't say nothing. I'll speak to him. I'll speak to him.
No, no,
And I thought that was the right way to approach that.
of
And
course,
then when it came out, it was like, wow, subhanAllah. And of course, not to downplay anything, because all of us as callers and teachers, we have to we have to be mindful of our behavior.
of course,
But at the time there were things that were more serious than the issue, and this is not to downplay the issue of going to the movies, but were more serious is regarding some of the statements that he was making in some of his classes, and even some of them I spoke to him about on the phone, personally, which is me and him on the phone, and matters that I had mentioned to some of the elders to speak to him, being that I believe they had a better relationship. And this is what I had told him on the phone, because he called saying that, were you talking about me? I said, yes. And I told him the people that I spoke to. And I said, the reason why I spoke to them is because I believe they have a better relationship with you, and that they, can reach you, more so than I can. And in the event, subhanAllah wa bihamdi, we have to be mindful of how we, handle affairs. And I remember going to see Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, myself and some other brothers. and he asked about Shadid. He asked about Shadid. And I mentioned to him what was going on, and the sheikh, he shook his head, and he said, you know, like the meaning of his statement was like, he wouldn't be surprised that he's gone this far because of how the people treated him. You know, and he wasn't excusing any mistakes that the brother has, but he also attributed to probably where he was at due to how he was being treated. You
Yeah,
know, and
I can see
yeah,
that.
you know,
I can see
and
that.
Allahu Musta'an. You know, we have to be mindful of how we correct people, and sometimes, you know, and out of zeal, or maybe someone has an agenda, you know, we don't take the best way to correct people. You know, may Allah forgive us all, you know, for our faults and where we have fallen short of this regard, and make us to be more in compliance with the legislative way of correcting people when they fall into error.
Allahumma ameen.